Hi, business besties, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be giving y'all a crash course on how to actually implement all the things that you're learning and how to stop information hoarding and start testing everything that you're learning to even see if it'll be effective for you. There are a lot of different reasons why I decided to do this crash course for you guys, but the main reason why is because I create a lot of free content for you, and I want to make sure that you understand how to actually use that content and how to use it to further your business, boost your sales, and actually take advantage of all the free resources that are out there, not just by me, but also by places like HubSpot, SEMrush, Ahrefs, and all the other places that exist as well that create free content for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. This crash course is going to cover 4 different things: setting intentions, organizing your notes, actually implementing, and then conducting a data review. So now is the time to go ahead and pull out that pen and pad so you can start taking notes. Step 1 is going to be setting your intentions. Now, I know you may be wondering, why do intentions matter? First, without setting intentions, you end up doing a bunch of everything while accomplishing nothing. And what that means is you spend all this time reading, taking notes, writing, taking these courses, paying for these certifications. But when you don't have intentions as to why you're doing these things, they don't matter. When your intentions aren't clear, you learn a lot of random things, but you still feel lost. And no matter what you do or what you study, it still becomes unclear of what you should do. And with these 3 things in mind, there are a lot of benefits as to why you should set intentions, but I'm going to go over a few of my favorite reasons why. By setting intentions, you go into learning and studying already knowing what you want your ideal outcomes to be. You have a predetermined approach. That means that you understand what you plan to do with everything that you learn, instead of just holding on to this information and never actually doing anything with it at all. And planned intentions for learning leave minimal room for confusion and misunderstanding of how to use this new information. So when you keep these things in mind, setting intentions means that you sit down and you take the time to be like, I struggle with A, I need to learn B, and once I learn this information, I'm going to do C with it. You take that formula and you start applying that to everything that you're learning, you'll be able to start actually implementing and trying out all the new things that you're learning, instead of just feeling like you're constantly learning but never doing anything. But how do you actually set your intentions? I like to follow a 4-step process. Step 1, I analyze my business and I figure out what my weak spots are by conducting a SWOT analysis. When you conduct a SWOT analysis, it means that you sit down and you look at your business and you determine what your strengths are, your weaknesses, what opportunities exist for you, and what threats exist to your business. If you've never done this before, I highly recommend it. While I don't have a free resource for this, you can Google SWOT analysis, free template, free tutorial, and there are so many creators who've already done this for you. Step 2 to learn how to set your intentions would be decide what your weaknesses are and what you're going to focus on during this point in time for learning, which you'll learn in your SWOT analysis. Step 3 is to identify what you're missing and what you'll do once you have that information. So in step 3, you take a deep dive into your weaknesses and you try to figure out why they are weaknesses and what specifically makes them a weakness and what you can do to actually overcome it. What tools and resources and knowledge are you missing that prevent this weakness from becoming a strength? And then step 4, you seek and apply the resources, the tools, and knowledge that you identified in step 3, and that's how you set your intentions. So now that you know how to actually set intentions for learning new things, let's talk about how to organize your notes in the process of studying. There are a lot of different reasons why this is important, and I'll go over those in a minute. But I do want to go over how you're taking notes versus how you should be taking notes. And I hope that this will make it a little bit more clear for you. So how you're taking notes right now is you read and highlight everything that stands out. You put your notes in an archive and then you never review them again. And then you're halfway completing your studying with no supporting research. So you're not finding anything additional that actually supports the things that you're reading from one source. And that is a big mistake, because if something is true and tried and tested, you'll be able to find case studies, research studies, additional books, and other professionals actually talking about these things. Even if it's not a lot of supporting materials, if it's something new, I guarantee you'll at least be able to find, 3 to 5 additional sources to support what you want to try. So instead of taking your notes in that way, I recommend taking your notes how I take mine. So I only note key terms and strategies that I am unaware of. I have a notes journal, and even though it's not a physical journal, I have like a pages file on my iPad, and that's where I take all my notes in. They have proper headings, proper highlights, proper notes, and then I also have a context outline at the beginning of this document that tells me what page everything is on. This is how I like to organize my notes. Immediately after I complete my research, I also like to find additional resources that support why I should try these new methods and see the results that other professionals have gotten from trying them. And then I begin implementing by creating a new strategy segment to try methods with. So instead of trying these new methods in my current environment, I make sure that the environment that I want to try these methods in is actually conducive and helpful for the methods to be in. And that's why it's important for you to find additional resources and try to find additional outcomes that others have experienced with these methods. Now, learning how to organize your notes is what's going to make it easier to do step 4, which is data reflection. And actually understanding like what the data means. And we're going to go over data review a little bit in this next section. So after you learn how to organize your notes, step 3 is actually going to be implementation. I think that this is the step that most people get stuck on. They get this information and they're like, but how do I implement? How do I implement with ease? And how do I implement in a way that it is efficient for me? I like to do this in a few different ways. So now that I have compiled data and I have compiled resources, I've completed a SWOT analysis, I know what I'm missing, and I have everything together that I want to try and use. Now I need to figure out my implementation strategy. So first, I'm going to create deadlines and systems for tracking any significant changes or outcomes from these new methods that I'm going to try. This is going to be the only way to really determine if something works for you or not. Once I do this, I'm going to prepare my new methods for 90 days and commit to only making small tweaks as needed. I'm going to try to use my methods via the way that I research them without making like super large tweaks or changes to them that could completely disrupt my potential outcomes. The last thing I'm going to do is accept that I may not see significant outcomes each time. And sometimes the only lesson I learn is what doesn't work. And that's okay. Sometimes business is just a process of elimination of different strategies and methods that you find online. And that is a big win, because if you can continue to learn what doesn't work, you're one step closer to learning what does. You have to be intentional about actually trying things out to be able to implement them in your business. And once you become intentional about how you research, about how you take notes, and about actually creating strategies to put these new ideas that you have in good environments for them, you're ready to start trying them and start collecting data. I think the data part is one of the more boring parts for a lot of people, because it requires focus, and it requires you to actually be willing to self-reflect, not only on how you personally feel, but what the data says about these outcomes, because business is not about how we feel. Business is about what the data says. So there are 5 different steps that we'll go over as far as data review. Step 1 is going to be compile your data. So as you go through implementation, you'll be taking notes of outcomes. The first step to actually being able to review those outcomes is to compile your data and put everything in one place. Now, step 2 is data reflection. Now that all of your data is organized, it's time to reflect on what was the most impactful and what you believe worked the best over a long period of time. This is the step where you get to talk about what you think and if this process was actually even efficient for you, regardless of the data. Step 3 is going to be review the impact. Now you're going to look at how these changes have impacted your normal outcomes. What is the statistical difference that these outcomes provided? Did it increase efficiency? And if so, by how much? So now you're ready to say, this boosted sales by 10%. This didn't work, but it did boost, website traffic by 20%. So now I know that I need to work on website descriptions. This boosted my email open rates by 60%. I'm going to keep trying this. And also consider taking screenshots of these statistical changes and putting them in your notes so that you can always go back and self-reflect on these things at a later time. Once you review the statistical impacts of the changes that you made, you are ready to commit to try new methods long term. Now it's time to decide what you actually want to commit to and why. Plus, setting new long-term goals based on your short-term results gives you more clarity and more of a realistic idea about what you can expect from trying these methods. And the last step is going to be setting your new deadlines. Now that you have tried this method for 90 days, you're ready to set deadlines for you to try over longer periods of time, including 6 to 12 months, and document that long-term data for true effectiveness of your outcomes. This is going to be one of the most important parts, because while many believe that we can rush to the top and we can rush to be successful, we really can't. We really cannot. There is no necessarily right or wrong way to be successful, but there will be methods that work better for you personally over time as your business grows. And the only way to really determine what those methods are going to be doing them for 6 to 12 months at a time. And that is the end of our crash course. Let's go ahead and self-reflect for a bit. I'm going to share what I think the most two important lessons are here. Lesson 1 is going to be studying without intentions doesn't help you. It only leaves you confused with new information you don't know how to use. Lesson 2 is, even after you set intentions, you need to master actually trying new things you learn to see if they work for you. What works for someone else just may not work for you. And that's okay. Learning to accept these two things is going to take you significantly further than information hoarding like you were doing previously. In conclusion, I want you to always remember that you are capable of trying every single new thing you learn when your intentions are clear and you know how to track your results. It doesn't help you to hoard information. You need to be proactive about trying what you learn to see progress long term. Lastly, if you want more help, consider grabbing the Content Marketing Toolkit to learn new marketing strategies, plus how to implement them and track data with formulas I use every single day. If you're watching this YouTube video, I will be sure to link this specific toolkit down in the description box for you. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and make sure that you like it, hit subscribe, and comment down below on what was the most helpful thing for you and what you plan to implement as you continue to learn and grow as a business owner. As always, I will be dropping new content. I am going to be continuing my series for Shopify, going over all the apps that I like to use. I'll probably even throw in some apps that I've tried that I did not like. So just go ahead and stay tuned and check out all the playlists that I've created for you as well. As always, I hope you crush your goals for quarter 2, and I'll see you guys on the timeline on Twitter.